The views or opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Westman Communications Group or its employees.
Hello and welcome to the KC Chronicles podcast. I don't even know what episode we're on.
We are on episode 50. No.
It's not 15. If you're
11,
lying
12,
yourself.
11,
yeah,
12?
that sounds
Something
more accurate.
like that. We are over 10 episodes.
That's
the
crazy.
important part.
That's the important part.
This show is gonna run forever.
Yeah. Until we're like old and on our deathbed, and then we're even gonna do one on our deathbed.
Okay, well, what episode do you think that we'd be at by then?
Probably like 1,000 if we work really hard.
1,000.
I don't know. Like I'm just saying.
At the rate we're going, well, because we do at least once a week, and
if we do, that'd be a 52 in a year.
And then how many years? Oh God.
How many years until we're on our deathbed is the question.
Well. I don't know. It could be like next year, or it could be in like 80 years. We'll see.
Tomorrow. No.
Tomorrow.
I'm sorry, we're getting so off topic here. Real quick, if you or anyone you know is interested in doing a podcast with us here in the studio, or by yourself, or with your friends, whatever you want, the email you can email us at is wcgtv@westmancom.com. And just a reminder, I'm your host, Kenzie Jordan, and this is my co-host, Cullen Shalek. In case you forgot our names, but like
I hit my elbow on the table, and I'm the better of the two hosts.
That is a lie.
let it be known.
That is such a lie. And I feel like we don't even have to intro ourselves at this point because I feel like people know us. But
hey,
just in case you forget our names or you're new.
In case you forget our names, because in case you don't know who we are, I'm the better one.
Oh my gosh. Okay, go back and watch the first episode and you'll find out that I'm better.
Yeah, we also have a big rivalry on the show.
Yeah, we're not friends. You think this is a friendly thing? Nah.
No, there's nothing friendly about us actually.
We're just enemies, and we started a podcast for fun.
Yeah. This was like as part of like one of those employee
team building
exercises.
They made us do it. We're forced.
Yeah. It's like, okay, these two
they
sworn
don't like each other.
these two sworn enemies have to just pretend to
like each other for TV.
Yeah. And do a show together.
Yeah, that's how it's all came about.
Yeah. Well, before we jump into the topic today, at the time we're taping this, it is going to be Canada Day soon.
On Monday.
It's
Friday,
right.
So Canada Day is going to be literally in 3 days.
Yep.
That's
it's raining, and it's supposed to rain all weekend.
I know.
That's
the sucky part, because usually Canada Day is a big like celebration weekend,
it's supposed to be a big party.
Fireworks. But we can't do fireworks if it's raining.
If it rains, we'll just party anyway.
Yeah, we'll party anywhere. We're Canadians. But
if it was like snowing and it was like stupid cold, then we would party. Like,
oh yeah, no,
we don't stop for the winter, right? Like
we just don't stop.
Don't stop till you drop. Other big news. Don't know what the big news is, and I bet you probably didn't even notice. I got a new shirt.
I know it's not like blue and green today.
I know.
It's weird.
I got a new flannel.
Did you buy it for the show?
Yeah, no. I was in Winnipeg last weekend, and I went and saw the Winnipeg Sea Bears, like the basketball team. They run actually a really good show. If any of you are watching, if you're connected to the Sea Bears organization, good job on what you're doing. The fan experience and the fan engagement was like 10 out of 10. Just how they ran the whole thing. It was very, very kid friendly. It was very family friendly. Like they're actually trying to like market the team and build a fan base, which is it's commendable.
That's good.
I respect teams that do that extra effort to that, because some teams don't do that, and those are the teams that usually go under.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I agree. I think you want a good experience whenever you're going to a game or going to do something like that. You want a good experience, no matter if it's football, hockey, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to have a good experience, and I feel like that's very important. And I like that they're building their fan base that way.
We should also talk about do another caffeine challenge update.
I'm pretty sure I'm near the end.
You're near the end, but you shouldn't stop though. I don't like that language of I'm near the end, so I'm
not gonna like drink it like I don't miss it that much, but like coffee sometimes I do miss.
She misses coffee, everybody.
Sometimes.
You should be me and just don't drink coffee, because I'm sorry, but coffee is disgusting.
Coffee's good. I don't know what's
Coffee is so gross. I mean, I get people say, "Oh, I just drink it for the effect." I'm not about that. Like for me, it's if it doesn't taste good, I just don't drink it. I don't care what effect it gives me.
Depends on what it is. There's only certain coffees that I will drink, but the taste of some coffee is actually good for me.
What What coffee? Okay,
Actually,
what coffee tastes good?
The Tim Hortons K-cups are actually good if you put them in your own machine. Those are good.
You know, ironically enough, I've heard just from like family members and whatnot that like Tim Hortons coffee is the one that tastes the worst, in their opinion.
Brewed from Tim Hortons, I don't get, but if I get the K-cups, it's okay because
it's different. Okay.
Yeah, they're a little different to me. But I never get brewed coffee straight from Tim's. I just get the K-cups.
What coffee do you guys order? Send us an email at WCGTV
where
at
do you get
westmancom.com.
coffee? What do you get?
Where do you get coffee? And what do you think is the best coffee? And where do you think is the worst coffee is from?
Maybe that's something we should do. Like, I know you don't like coffee, but maybe like
I would know nothing.
No, but I mean, like, what if we had like all the different types of coffee here?
Oh my god,
and
we should
had like a little kettle and did like instant coffee or something like that. You know,
like
what I mean?
a blind coffee taste test where like the producers know what the coffee is and we don't know.
And we have
For
to like
me,
rank them best to worst.
I would be like, okay, this one's bad, this one's bad, this one's bad. Like it would be basically a you ranking. It's not a me ranking.
Saying we could do that with like other things, not necessarily coffee, but we could do that with other things.
If you'd like to see that, shoot us an email or just say yes through your TV, and we can hear it. I can hear everything you're saying to me
right now
through the TV, like right now.
Yeah.
So if you're saying anything nice or mean about me, I know what you're saying.
Anyway, we should jump into today's topic.
That was just
yapped for a little too long about that.
Excuse me. This is housekeeping. That's what they call it.
Oh yeah.
We did some housekeeping at the start, and now the house has been kept.
Okay.
And now we'll leave the house.
Today's topic is one we brought up in our last episode.
And even though it's a topic that you might associate with it being like negative or a doomer mentality, we're having fun with the topic today.
It's gonna be a
we're
silly
not being
episode.
Yeah, like we're not being serious about any of this. I mean, you've seen the disclaimer at the start. The views and opinions do not express the opinions of Westman Communications Group. This is just our silly opinions on this topic and the wider range umbrella term that you can use with this word. But the topic today is the apocalypse.
Hey, we didn't even practice that, and we just did it. That was good. We get a high five for that one.
we share one brain.
Yeah.
It's just
we are one brain cell.
We share one brain cell collectively. That shows you how intelligent we are.
Yep.
We're not.
No, we're so intelligent. What are you talking about? Don't discredit us for doing that.
Well, I mean, I did graduate college, and you're starting your second year.
I didn't graduate college.
I did. I did. For the record,
so you lied to me?
I graduated last year. It happened.
I graduate next year.
We graduate next year. We're gonna have to have a big party for that.
Yeah.
On Casey Chronicles. So, apocalypse. Let's talk about it. So, when you hear the word apocalypse, what's the first thing that kind of comes to your brain? Like, because like with apocalypse, like it's a pretty vague term because there's a lot of different apocalypses, but what do you see?
In my mind, I just think of like The Walking Dead with all the zombies.
You think of zombies? I think of the exact same thing. Like
when people say apocalypse, all I think of is zombies from like The Walking Dead. I just think a situation like that.
Right. Well, because I think the kind of overarching zombie apocalypse, I think that's probably like the most popular like form of mass media with an apocalypse scenario. I mean, they've done movies and shows about other different apocalypses, but I feel like that's the most popular one. Like when you think of how many zombie related video games, movies, TV shows, zombies I think is the top topic by that and Aliens maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like that would be cool to experience.
No, it wouldn't. You see the show, The Walking Dead, I think did actually a pretty accurate job in the first couple seasons of like the kind of breakdown of social order. Because I think, well, I guess it depends on what type of zombies you're dealing with. Because depending on what type of franchise or media you're dealing with, the severity of said apocalypse or disease or outbreak it varies, right? But the Walking Dead zombies, they're not difficult, but it's power in numbers and how they can break down social order and cause just civil unrest and mass chaos, and then that's where everything then just goes.
See, I don't know. I feel like I could win against zombies, but maybe
you
not.
Feel like you could win against zombies.
If we're talking about a different apocalypse, I don't know if this counts as an apocalypse, but have you ever watched the movie The Fifth Wave?
No, but I've heard of it.
I think it kind of counts as an apocalypse. It's like 5 different waves of like, almost like a natural disaster type thing, but it's controlled by like aliens. And you get like, it's like, you have to watch it.
Oh, like, so like they'll send like a wave of like, as an example, like they'll send a wave of like floods and then like a wave of hurricanes and tornadoes.
Like in the Bible, if you've ever read
that like the Book of Exodus, like with Moses,
it's kind of like that, but with aliens.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
That's terrifying.
It is one of the coolest like movies I've ever seen. I read the book too. It's really cool to watch. I don't know if that counts as an apocalypse, but I feel like there
you could think of it
could
as
be a situation
it's
like
like
that.
5 mini apocalypses.
Yeah, and you just try not to die. Okay.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to survive any type of apocalypse?
Well, any apocalypse that I'll break it down a little bit because it's a big term to just say the apocalypse. But if it was a zombie apocalypse, I think okay, so we're saying like 10 is
10 is your most likely.
I will persevere, and then 1 is I'm dead in the first day.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna sit at about a 4.
Together, or just you?
You know what? Let's do it together. Since we're a duo on the show, I feel like together we would be at about a 4 or 5 because I feel like we don't really have a whole lot of survival outdoor skills.
No.
That's a big ding against us. But contrary to popular belief, we are both, I think, semi-smart individuals. I feel like we have some intellect where we could, but in the apocalypse, a lot of intellect kind of goes out the window. It's all about primitive survival. Mm-hmm. So I feel like to a degree, we could survive.
But I feel like we're also both like skinny enough that we could run a bit faster.
We could run a bit faster.
People. But we also are... I don't know about you, but I am smaller, so I could do a lot more hiding spaces.
Yeah. I can't do that. You can see me from about a mile away.
But, like, yeah, it depends on where we're trying to hide. But I feel like with our brains together, I feel like, 5 is a solid answer.
Yeah. Almost in a way, I think we're being pretty generous because we have to I know how to, like, purify water. We know how to cook.
Yeah.
But, again, at the same time, we're going to have to learn how to, like...
Ants are always edible.
Yes,
they actually you didn't know, that's actually very edible.
They are a good source of protein.
Yeah. So like if we're ever lost,
just go to an anthill and just
also lunch. I feel like what we could do is if the apocalypse broke out, first thing we could do is rob a grocery store.
Right, but that's the one thing that you shouldn't do in any zombie apocalypse is go to crowded areas because that's one of the main things because you think when stuff hits the fan, what's the first place that people want to go to grab supplies? The stores. Like hardware stores, like Home Depot, Home Hardware, Rona, Lowe's, and every mainstream grocery store and gas station is going to be purged, siphoned, looted, robbed. Like it is going there and it's going to be a gong show. And then that's when the fights break out of you grabbed the last of whatever, right?
But I feel like I guess we could do like the more less popular ones. Because like if you think about it, almost every grocery store and every gas station has like the same stuff. People will just go to the more popular ones because that's what they know.
But maybe everyone would try and use the reverse psychology and go to the less popular ones. But let's assume everyone just goes to the mainstream ones. Go to your local corner store. Yeah, like literally. But I feel like they would be willing because usually a lot of those corner stores like individually owned. I feel like the owners would be like more committed to actually like fighting and defending their corner store because I feel like those mass chains, a lot of the employees probably don't get paid enough to even care to actually like defend it properly. Like be like,
Walmart being lit on fire. Sorry.
If you remember that, Walmart got lit on fire a few weeks ago. Well, not the front part,
but like still, nobody really cared enough to like.
No one. Well, I mean,
there was employees in there and they would have seen it happen. They just didn't.
It was at like midnight. Yeah.
So. Could be a situation like that,
That's such a Brandon thing to happen. I'm so sorry, people, but that is the most Brandon story of all time.
I heard apparently it was like some 16-year-old kid who tried to light Marks on fire first, but then Marks wouldn't light, so they went to Walmart.
This just in: Marks is
not flammable.
It's not flammable enough, but Walmart
definitely. If you're looking for arson.
Okay, no, pause. We do not condone that practice whatsoever. That was a joke for legal reasons. That is a joke. We do not condone any of that. That was a very stupid decision by that young man or young people. Yeah.
We do not condone criminal activity.
I think it was actually a very big waste because they had to throw out almost all the product in the store.
Well, what happened was the fire set off all of the sprinklers and water damage happened to like everything.
Yeah. And then food goes bad and you don't want to risk mold.
They had to take almost every product out and replace it.
There's probably millions of dollars worth of product wasted. That's a complete waste.
So no crimes.
Don't do that. No crimes.
We were just joking.
Yeah, we want to live in a society where there's no crime. Yeah. That's hard to do.
That's never gonna happen. But.
And back to the apocalypse, when the apocalypse happens, crime is basically legal because if social order really breaks down and there's no cops, there's no authority figures, it becomes like the Wild West up to 100.
It's like the Purge. But
24/7.
It's like the Purge.
Well, actually, it's like the Purge and some because in the Purge there were still some laws that you had to obey.
Like you couldn't hit like any
you couldn't do you can't burn anything. Like you can't do arson, no explosives, and you can't kill any government people with a ranking above level 10.
And you are only allowed a certain type, up to a certain type of gun as well.
Yeah, exactly. But in the apocalypse, it's all
free
of that,
reign.
but then, it's free reign.
Free reign, anything and everything. And I feel like that's even scarier.
Yeah, I feel like actually, if the apocalypse were to happen, I think because I think I even kind of said it in last episode, but I think I would like go shirtless. I would tie like my shirt like around my head like a bandana style, and then I would like grab a giant machete and just be like one of those kind of like primitive, like I'd be like a forest dweller. I'd be like kind of savage. Like I would like forget the English language. I would just be like, you know.
I would pay to see that.
like a caveman, I guess you could say. I'd be like a caveman.
I would actually, but with a machete.
But with a machete. I'd be the most powerful caveman known to mankind.
Yeah. I don't know.
I would just run away from all the cities. I would just go be on my own. Because even if I didn't make it, I would at least pass away under my own pretenses in a nice, peaceful environment in a forest rather than like a burning city.
The other thing that we kind of have to keep into account is, would you ever stock up prior to it? Would you ever get weapons or get food just as a precaution in case it was to happen?
Playing the odds and thinking that the apocalypse was going to happen, probably no. But I feel like we, in a way, humans kind of do that to a degree. Like, for example, if you live in a place like in the Great Plains in the United States where a lot of tornadoes happen, you know, some people might invest in tornado shelters. They might invest in like they might always have like a pair of like steel toes and like a hard hat.
Or, when COVID hit, everybody bought toilet paper.
That still makes me upset.
That's the more realistic
No,
thing.
because I think what happened was when the panic buying started happening, there were a select few individuals that just stocked up on toilet paper when no one else thought of that idea. And then I think, honestly, when the mass media started reporting saying a lot of people are buying up a lot of toilet paper, like because of a few isolated incidences, then everyone thinks, oh, well, now the toilet paper's low, I better go buy some before it's out. And then it just started a snowball cascade effect. So that's I blame the
mass media,
the big news channels for that.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
It's so
even
crazy.
Happened, and it wasn't even an apocalypse. It was freaking.
It felt like it. That felt like an apocalypse.
Like
and that the month of March of 2020 felt like we were in in a diet apocalypse.
It felt like the world was like actually gonna end. I feel like.
And I worked at a grocery store at the time, which was the worst job ever.
But yeah, I feel like since the last pandemic was what, the plague or the Spanish flu.
Well, it depends on what you want to do. Well, there was the influenza, there was swine flu in 2009. I'm weirdly nerdy about all this. There was then SARS in 2003. Maybe some of our older viewers might remember that. There were a couple of flu pandemics in East Asia in the 50s. There were a smattering of cholera outbreaks in the 1800s. There was the 1918 influenza. There was typhoid. There was...
My point being that
there was plague, and back then in like the 1300s all the way up until like the 1600s, there were a lot of plague outbreaks, and that would have felt very apocalyptic, especially during the more infamous one.
My point though being that like it was uncertain territory. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if it was going to get solved.
Because I don't think anyone in the world was still alive.
No.
And even if they were born in 1918 and they were still alive now, like they wouldn't have even experienced it.
And the second they used the word pandemic, and everybody who was in history class learned about the plague and all that stuff, everybody started freaking out.
Yeah, it's natural for us to freak out when we use those big words, and I don't think the media did us any favors in trying to calm situations.
And no, I think they made it worse, and I feel like we kind of felt like that was going to possibly be
it felt like our own apocalypse at the time.
So I feel like our generation who lived through it might be more prepared when it actually does come.
Or at least we have experience, right?
When we have experience, we kind of know the realm of what to do. Like if it was a disease outbreak like that or whatever, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, it kind of makes me a little fearful because judging how, let's be honest, when we saw in town, in Westman, in Canada, and in the world, of how everyone reacted and how we all treated each other during the pandemic. Now, I know that I blame social media and the news for it almost as much as I would any political leader, but when we see how the entire world reacted to an apocalypse that maybe relatively to all the types of apocalypses that can happen, it's probably here. Like over here is like doomsday of the world. This was COVID right down here. And judging how
everyone was there.
How well we handled that.
Yeah.
I fear of when something more severe happens, I think we might have our comeuppance. But you could say on the contrary to add a silver lining or be positive about it, because we've gone through relatively an easier experience than what can happen, we might have more of a level of preparedness. We might be a little more accustomed to it, maybe like a little more kind of tough.
Yeah, I feel that.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it depends on what level of worse we're talking about.
Yeah, like there's so many different ways.
Like if a meteor is like if a giant meteor is heading like straight for Earth, well, I don't think any hand washing or mask wearing is going to stop that.
Depends where it hits too. Half of us might be dead.
If I put on a mask, that meteor up in the sky will just go the other way.
Yeah. Logic.
That is logic at its finest there, folks.
I was going to say, if only we were in Star Wars and you could use the Force, I'd just put it back, you know? Just like, please don't hit us.
Exactly. Anyway.
Oh my God, okay, that reminds me though. I saw a TikTok and it was like, a meteor is going to hit the Earth, and someone throws a piece of paper at it, and paper beats rock. And that's how we win, and that's how we don't die.
Wow.
Hey, logic. Rock, paper, scissors, paper beats rock.
Yes, in rock, paper, scissors, paper does indeed beat rock. I don't know if that on that giant astrological scale, if that would be possible, but it could be.
What if we just wrapped the whole world in paper? Can't hit us if we win.
I'm just not even gonna respond to that. I'm just gonna let that sit there, and all of you can look at her and be like, "What's wrong? What's wrong with
No, I thought it was funny. Okay, so let's talk about a different type of apocalypse.
So let's talk about natural disasters. Unless you had a better idea.
Okay, yes, we'll go to mine after.
Okay.
Natural disasters are scary. Let's start with that.
And it's the one. So, in reality, the natural disasters that we get affected by here on Earth, it's not an apocalypse per se, but it can feel apocalyptic. Sure, it could in theory get worse, but again, a lot of those disaster movies can make it seem like worse, where like all of them happen at once. But when you see footage, and again, because I do a lot of nerdy research on this, for example, tornadoes.
I am so afraid of tornadoes.
In my opinion, that is the one natural disaster I feel like can feel the most apocalyptic, because it's nature. They can strike on very little warning.
And it can wipe out a whole town just like that.
I know.
Like it can.
Oh, I'm so glad we get to talk about tornadoes. Now you have no idea. Okay, so I used to be in the same boat as you, where like when I was a child, I was like I had a huge irrational fear of tornadoes. Like I was deadly terrified, even just when a small thunderstorm would happen. I'm not as scared of them anymore. In fact, because I was so scared of them, I read and did so much research and like educated myself on them. Educated.
Word of the week.
Educated. I did all that, and then my fear level went down, and my curiosity and fascination overtook it. So, I mean, yeah, there's still a level of fear that you do have with tornadoes, but I'm just so fascinated. I get so excited whenever a thunderstorm happens.
I do think they look cool. Like I think it's one of the coolest.
They are so beautiful.
And I feel like it's very unlikely you'd ever survive if you were in one.
Well, there's a lot of factors of it, but
I feel like to be in the middle of that would be like one of the coolest experiences. Be like in the eye of the storm.
Well, for a brief second until
you die, but but I feel like it would be one of like a cool experience.
Yeah, but kind of tying into how it's apocalyptic, like when you get up to the EF4, EF5 range, because again, I'm not a meteorologist. Let's just get that straight, okay?
Was that your dream and you just couldn't do it, or? Sorry.
Yeah, in like 5 years, you'll see me as a local storm chaser for the Westman area.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, an EF0 to an EF2, yes, they can cause damage. They should be taken. Every tornado should be taken with serious caution. But relatively, if you are in a safe place, like in a safe, well-built home, more often than not, you're gonna be okay. It's when you get to the EF3 and above range is where it gets dangerous and where it becomes apocalyptic. And the EF5's tornado, the EF5 tornadoes, they are some of the most destructive and terrifying things that you can see. When you look up pictures of like how big those tornadoes are, because most tornadoes in the EF4 to EF5 range are what are called wedge tornadoes, where the tornado is actually wider than it is like tall, like from the ground to the clouds, which is terrifying when you think about it.
That's pretty tall.
From the ground to the sky, it's a pretty tall distance. So when you have a tornado that's wider than it is tall, that's a bit of a freaky experience.
That's Twisters on crack.
Pretty much. Have you seen the movie Twister? Pretty much.
The new one's coming out in like 2 weeks. I can't wait. Sorry.
Oh, is it actually?
Yeah, July 19th.
I'm a tornado enthusiast, and I didn't even know that.
I'm very excited.
We might have to talk about the movie after it's done.
Oh yes.
Yes. Anyway, like when you see some of those, like when you see the damage and like the aftermath of those F5 tornadoes, that looks apocalyptic.
Well, and the way you said it was like wider than it is tall, that could be the whole entire radius of Brandon or whatever, like of the town or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it could take a whole town in one go.
Yeah, well, the biggest tornado that ever happened was in 2013 in El Reno, Oklahoma, and I wish I had the proper numbers, so please don't quote me on this, but I think it was about 2.5, 3 miles wide. Now, I don't think that would swallow all of Brandon. Again, we don't use miles here in Canada.
We use kilometers because we are nerds.
Metric. But that would probably be almost all the city, if not the entire city.
That is crazy. Like,
granted, it was only an EF3, but that was only because it happened in the middle of a field, so there wasn't much damage. Because who knows, if that would have hit like an actual city, maybe it could have been an instant EF5. But it was huge.
Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah, and they could. Sorry, go on.
Well, and like you said, the wreckage afterwards is like apocalyptic. And even when you're like during a tornado and you have to sit in your basement huddled up with like your food or whatever because it's likely gonna hit you. That feels apocalyptic.
Yeah, and when you hear kind of some of the stories of what people like going through the tornado experience, like you never forget going through a tornado, especially like the more powerful ones, because apparently if I remember correctly, they describe it as the sound of a tornado, like the really powerful ones. It sounds like a freight train. Like it has like just if you can think of like like a train going over the tracks and just that kind of sound. Apparently it's pretty accurate, like that, and like the sound of like strong winds, like that is freaky.
Yeah.
And but again, like when you look at some of the pictures of tornado damage, like when you see, again, we're talking like in the EF5 range, like houses where there's no rubble, it's just a stone slab where the house used to be. Like it's swept clean off the foundation. When you see cars that can be like 3,000 pound, 4,000 pound vehicles that are flung in the air for several kilometers like they're toys.
Yeah.
And some of the most scary footage I see is because, again, when you look and you see, your average car on the street, like you see, like, it's big, it's durable, it's a big machine that, again, has the potential to do damage in its own right. But then when you see some of those footage of those of cars picking up tornadoes and they slam into powerful trees and they get mangled and like crushed and wrap around trees.
That's terrifying.
That is horrifying, and that feels apocalyptic in its own right.
Taking a turn to a different type of natural disaster, wildfires. The damage is, I feel, the same way, but it
just burns.
Yeah.
And well, I think the easiest example of what looked like HE double hockey sticks, if you remember, and if you might remember, well, sorry, I'll go to two examples. The first example in 2016 when the wildfires happened at Fort McMurray in Alberta, when like the entire city, 80,000 people had to be evacuated in about 2 days.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That
is so much
insane.
Destruction.
And then, but the second example that I was thinking of was the December 2017 wildfires in California. Like, you might have seen that infamous footage of someone driving along the freeway, and it's like pitch black as night, and like the rolling hills of like kind of around the Los Angeles area.
I don't remember if that's
they're all burning, and it looks like you are in the underworld, like the void. It is.
I don't know if that's the one I'm thinking of, but I know I was thinking. I had an example from California that. It was almost as if they were hit with a laser and not necessarily an actual wildfire.
Oh no, we're getting into conspiracy theories.
No,
I've heard that one.
But it's because one, if you saw the way the cars were melted and the way houses were dealt with that way,
I've heard of this.
It looked a little weird, and then there was fire inside of a tree.
Yeah. If you don't know what Kenzie's talking about, there were essentially some conspiracy theories. It's the same wildfire, by the way.
Okay.
And there were some theories that there was apparently some.
It's not true, but
it's not true. But there was a theory that there was like some kind of really powerful laser technology quote unquote, that was used where, because there were examples where apparently there were houses or there were cars that were on fire, like in this very small isolated area, while all the immediate surrounding stuff all around it was okay. I would instantly chalk that up to wildfire embers can breeze, and then one could have just hit a roof and then a simple house fire happened right then and there and it didn't spread to everybody else.
Although, if you see the way the cars were melted, that's terrifying.
I know. Well, flames are hot.
Well, and then there was apparently like a flame like inside a tree stump. And so it was like the tree was still standing and it wasn't all on fire.
Oh, but you could see like the illumination.
If there was like a little crack in it and you could see there was literally flames inside the tree.
I've seen that footage.
It is so cool. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
It looks like Harry Potter type, like magic almost.
And, but like even if you think about that fire, specifically that one in California, the end result looked so apocalyptic to me.
I know, just seeing everything just neighborhoods and neighborhoods just
destroyed.
Burned.
Also, apparently a Stanley survived in one of those car fires in that California fire.
Oh, what, sorry?
A Stanley, like a Stanley Cup, survived in a car fire. And then
the Stanley Cup
is indestructible, I guess.
Not the hockey cup. The Stanley Cups, those giant...
Like the big water bottles?
Water bottle, kind of almost coffee-looking mugs.
Yeah, it survived one of those car fires. The car that completely melted.
They should put that as part of... They should put that as part of their advertising. Stanley Cups, we can survive fire.
They did. No, because someone posted a TikTok about it, and so then Stanley replied, sent her a couple free Stanleys, and then that's like their branding now. It's like you could survive a fire, and I'm just like, whoa.
Wow.
I don't personally have a Stanley, but that's kind of a cool experiment.
What apocalypse were you thinking of before?
I was thinking of like invaded by aliens.
No, here we go. Okay, I wish we had tinfoil with us because I wish we could make some tinfoil hats. But everyone, if you're watching along at home, get out your tinfoil hat. I've got mine on. Let's talk about aliens. So, here's the thing. It seems like nowadays there are so many people that are convinced aliens exist. Mm-hmm. I'm not convinced. Because, and I've said this on a previous episode.
I think we talked about this.
Our definition of what is an alien.
That's true.
We invented that idea of smart, intelligent creatures who fly around on saucer ships, who have like pale grade skin and like completely blacked out eyes. Is there life out there? Absolutely. Is there intelligent alien life like the ones that we've like dreamt up in the movies or from like Roswell, New Mexico? I don't think so. We invented that idea.
I definitely agree with that. I think that there's many different forms of life on different planets in the world.
Like whether it's like little amoebas or like maybe there's some type of animal.
There was water, I'm pretty sure, found on Mars at one point.
Oh yeah, I think.
So like
I think it's like the moon of Mars and Jupiter. Yeah. I think have water as well. There's water.
There's water around. And life on other planets, so it wouldn't be crazy to assume that there's different kinds of life.
There's a moon of I think Saturn. It's either Saturn or Jupiter that it's entirely liquid methane. Whoa. It's an oil tycoon's like dream. But it's just a giant planet filled with oil.
But say that we did have life like that. And we just got invaded one day.
Okay, so like assuming that the aliens are real.
It's real.
Do you want to know what like the first thing that I would do? Mm-hmm. I would drag one on here and we do a episode of Chronicles.
Podcast.
Yeah, we'd be like, so speak to us, and he'll be like, and I'm like,
that is actually, you know what we should do if the apocalypse ever hits, and we're just gonna be a duo for the apocalypse. We have to film. We have to film.
So, and then who's gonna watch it? Okay, well,
all the aliens.
Or maybe the apocalypse happens, but we beat back the apocalypse and like life comes back to normal. We'll then have amazing footage that we can.
Like it would be so crazy, and people could watch it in years to come, and they could be like, "This is what our Earth looks like." This many.
Half of the footage is going to be us just fighting each other because of like no, I want the last sip of water. No, I want the last bit of rations. I want this. I want that. Mm-hmm. It'll just be us beating each other up.
Rock paper scissors every time we're trying to decide something.
Oh my god, the arguments that would start, because the amount of cheating that would take place is crazy. Considering that you like to cheat at musical chairs.
That is not true.
She cheated at musical chairs.
No.
She cheated.
He hit me in the face with a chair.
Not true. We're not going to open this can of worms back up. That will cause an apocalypse in itself. Aliens. If a war were to start against aliens, I would just, again, run with my shirt off against the aliens and just saying, "Come at me. This is my planet. I'm gonna defend my planet to the last, to the final degree."
I'll film it.
I'll film it. Yeah. It'll just be me with no shirt on, just going right
with this machete and just taking out the aliens.
And then they'll just use one like ray beam, and then all of a sudden just I'm gone in like an instant.
Just powder.
Yeah, just powder, and then it's like, well, I tried.
Well, guys, there goes Cullen. Now it's just the K Chronicles.
You secretly hope it's that. It becomes that.
Never. I would never wish that upon my amazing co-host, Cullen.
Well,
But no, I think that it would be kind of cool if we could film the apocalypse one day.
One day. So you're hoping the apocalypse happens and so that we can film.
But then if we die and our camera is just left somewhere and life does go back to normal and somebody finds that camera,
we'll be forever
all of
famous.
our footage is there, and then
We'll be in history books.
we will be remembered forever.
We'll be
Even
in
if we
photos
die,
in classrooms.
we will be remembered.
We'll have statues built of us in Ottawa.
It'll be like Blair Witch Project-esque. I feel like that's when I was like,
yeah,
oh,
there'll be
let's
footage.
record it.
Yeah, there'll be like close-up footage of me crying against the camera saying, "I'm so sorry, Kenzie's parents. The apocalypse has happened. We're lost. It's all my fault." Blah, blah,
We're
blah,
dead.
blah. We're dead.
If you're seeing this, we died.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
But like that's immediately what comes to my mind when I think of like filming an apocalypse or something like that. It's just the Blair Witch Project.
So whenever you think of the apocalypse, just know Kenzie hopes that it happens just so that
So we can make a Blair Witch Project style video.
You want to know a different? Have you ever seen A Quiet Place?
I want to. Okay, it's on my bucket list.
That
and the
one,
new one coming
that
out,
one is an apocalypse in itself, and it is so cool but so terrifying.
And I want to watch the new one coming out. Looks really good, and I'm like,
if you haven't seen it, and you don't don't like spoilers, turn the TV off now. Okay, so for assuming that you're still here and you don't care about spoilers, A Quiet Place is basically, or you've watched it. It's basically a movie where there's like an alien invasion in a sense called the Death Angels, and they're basically like these kind of weird. They're very like kind of skinny looking like alien creatures that like kind of move on all fours, and they have like they don't really, their face is like just teeth and and their face can open and close like that.
that is terrifying.
And basically they're blind, and they only can hunt by the attraction of sound, and they can hear perfectly. So in the whole movie, the survivors literally, because like the whole world gets wiped out, and in the movie all the survivors have to literally like walk around on sand. The kids can only play with toys that are like muffled. They only communicate in sign language. Like they have to be like dead silent. Like you cannot make any artificial man-made noise, or
That is
else
insane.
you're gone. It is freaky, but it is such a cool movie. Just watch it.
Is it
Watch
on
the first one.
Netflix?
Maybe. Don't quote me on that. But watch the first one. The second one, I'm told it's not that good. Just watch the first one. It's
The
really,
new
really
one
good.
coming out looks really good because it goes all the way back to the beginning of it.
Yeah. It's like when everything first kind of
started.
first hits the fan. Like the first and second movie is like after the fact. It's like
later
after
on.
after all the chaos.
So I feel like that one's gonna be good too. But yeah, it's on my bucket list to watch because I think it's one of the coolest concepts.
It is a really cool concept because it's a refreshing idea. Like it's a movie where it's silent.
The other thing where you can think of apocalypse style was Bird Box.
Oh.
Where you can't see.
Why don't you describe
it's
it?
the same thing. So Bird Box, if you don't like spoilers, or if you haven't watched it, whatever, please turn the TV off because we don't want to
3,
spoil anything for you.
2, 1. Okay, go on.
If you're staying and you have watched it or you are okay with spoilers, Bird Box is basically, there's this entity that when you look at it, it makes you go crazy and want to hurt yourself in the easiest way possible. But it doesn't affect pregnant people. And some people do, instead of going crazy, they become its followers. It's loyalists. And they basically try and force everybody to keep their eyes open. So in this world, you have to keep your eyes closed or you have to stay out of the outside world. So these people, the survivors or whatever, they blinds on their house. And whenever you go outside, you put a blindfold on. But there are people who will try to make you open your eyes. And it's insanely scary.
It is so freaky.
But nobody knows what the entity is.
Nobody
And
knows because
that's
everyone's eyes are closed.
But that's even something, it's not a physical creature. Like, even if, like, I don't know if you watch Bird Box, but...
I've seen little snippets of it, but again,
But
I've read a lot about it.
You gotta watch it because it's really, really good.
What if the entity is like, it's not some scary alien or scary anything, it's just like some like bald fat guy named like Michael?
Well, it's not. It's just wind. All it is like wind. because it's
The
theorized that it is one of like I can't remember what it's called, but the great like it's like mythology.
The great wind.
It's mythology. You know, like
Right.
Cthulhu.
Yeah.
There are theories that it's Cthulhu, but it's not. It's been proven that it's not Cthulhu. Although Cthulhu is one of the coolest god thingies that I've ever seen. I don't even know what he's called. What is he classified
I'm
as? Like
Cthulhu. Anyway, what?
Is he classified as like a god or?
Cthulhu?
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know enough about mythology.
In this mythology, in Bird Box, it is considered that it might be Cthulhu. And if you don't know what Cthulhu is in mythology, Cthulhu is basically the end of our world. If Cthulhu is ever woke up, whatever.
Awaken. The Force Awakens.
Basically, if Cthulhu's ever awakened, it'll cause mass Earth destruction. He is basically like...
He is our apocalypse.
He is our apocalypse.
If you believe in it, so.
I think it's one of the coolest like mythology things I've ever read about, but it's not. It's proven in Bird Box that it's not Cthulhu. So there's multiple different entities in like mythology, and it'd be too much to go into them, but Cthulhu's the main one, and even then it's not Cthulhu. I think it's something. Bird Box is one that everybody should watch. I watched it right when it came out, and we watched it on like New Year's Eve one day, and it was just so good. I love watching that movie because it's one of the coolest experiences.
I feel like we're not trying to scare anybody from this. Almost everything we're describing is either fictional or movies. We're not trying to scare anybody, but I feel like there might be some people who've watched this now, and now like, they're going to only go outside with blindfolds on, and they're going to be silent as they go outside.
Yeah. So no, this isn't real. This is all fictional or mythology.
You know what? I think like if you want like one of the worst double whammies, if you take the concept of the Bird Box and A Quiet Place, you put it together,
and that's our apocalypse.
You would have to be quiet indoors, and you couldn't even go into the outside because you'd have to be blindfolded and you had to be silent at the same time. Imagine how fun that would be.
Everyone would die so fast.
Oh yeah.
Like that is just...
We'd live though. We'd live.
Oh yeah.
Actually no, I wouldn't because I'm quite loud sometimes.
I feel like we're both quite loud.
Well, I'm clumsy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm clumsy too.
Like I would accidentally like kick something, then yell, "What the bleep!" and all of a sudden, Death Angel just comes, just takes me right out. So.
Yeah, no, I feel like that would be like the worst.
And Bird Box would be because you said that the only people who don't go insane are women who are pregnant.
Yeah, actually, the people who don't go insane and hurt themselves is if you're pregnant.
But they still have to be blindfolded, or can they go like eyes open?
I think when you're pregnant, you can go out eyes open. And
okay, so I gotta find a way to get to become pregnant.
But don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure you can go out pregnant because like this is again a little bit of a spoiler for Bird Box. But in the beginning of the movie, the main character is pregnant, played by Sandra Bullock. And
a little shout out there.
And she goes to the doctor, right? And her sister's driving her. Her sister sees this entity as they're driving back, but she doesn't. And so her sister goes and like flips the car to try and hurt herself or end herself.
Yeah.
And they get out. Luckily, the pregnant woman's unscathed. But then, since it didn't kill her, she goes and steps into a burning. Or no. That's a different one. She goes and gets hit by a truck that's going. And her sister watches it. And her sister isn't affected.
Wow.
Like the pregnant ones. So I think the pregnant people can go out and like look. Same with the people who are his followers. Which there's one for sure in the movie that's scary. And he tries to kill people.
Maybe this is maybe that book was like a giant PR campaign of just to have more children. Just become pregnant, and if you don't, then you go insane.
And also, in Bird Box, you can see it on the security cameras.
Really?
So if you're inside looking at security cameras and it's outside going past the security camera, there is one instance in the movie where somebody does die because of it. So don't look at security cameras. Close up all your windows. Don't go outside unless you're blindfolded.
I'm writing a book right now. It's just a passion project. It's like a high mythical fantasy book, and like all these, I'm getting so many ideas. Well, I'm getting so many ideas. I'm just gonna write Bird Box and A Quiet Place right into the book.
The other thing, that I forgot to mention about Bird Box is the entity will change its voice. It will sound like somebody you love trying to convince you to take off your blindfold.
Oh no, that would be so bad. I would go out in public and then I would hear Kenzie being like, "Cullen, take off the blindfold. I want to show you something really funny." Be like, "Ha, okay." Dead.
Like that's it changes into a voice that you know and that is familiar to you, so that it can convince you to take off your blindfold. It almost happens to one of the kids.
A mythological creature that sounds like Kenzie. That would be apocalyptic.
Rude.
You would say the exact same thing about me.
I would.
Yeah, exactly.
But like in Bird Box, she leaves the kids because she's trying to take them to a safe place.
Right.
So she leaves to go find stuff, and she leaves the kids on this boat.
You could say a quiet place.
And so she's going to find supplies in this building, and one of the young girl hears her voice, but it's not her. It's the entity trying to get her to take off the blindfold.
So this entity is quite smart too.
Mm-hmm. Very smart. And it like they have to drive. They're trying to drive a vehicle with like all the windows blacked out. It's kind of the funniest thing you'll ever see.
Gosh, that'd be such a bad idea.
No, they.
I could really drive with my eyes open.
Yeah, they do it in the actual blindfolds on, and
It's like if the car starts shaking, then you've gone too far to the left.
Yes. I guess. Well, we can start wrapping up a little bit.
How about we end with some fun questions?
Okay. You start.
If Kenzie, there was a zombie apocalypse, and you could choose 3 real-life people or 3 fictional characters from any book, any movie, any TV show, video game, whatever you like, and these are your 3 companions in the zombie apocalypse, whether it's forever or it's for a couple years until everything gets under control, who are you going to do it with?
Oh, that's a hard question because like you need strong people, especially like me being small the way I am. I need some strong men. So
I need strong men. There's some strong women out there.
There are, yeah. Okay, we're gonna go with, if anybody here has ever watched Chicago Fire, some really hot firemen.
Okay.
I would go with Kelly Severide, one of the firefighters, because he's super buff, and I feel like he would just protect me, which is very nice. Okay, let's go with. Ooh, what would I do for the second one? Sorry, my alarm's going off, guys.
We learn to silence our ringers before the show starts.
My medications, okay? I'm sorry. Second one. Ooh, this is hard. This is really hard. Who's the main guy in Walking Dead?
Rick.
Yeah,
Rick
we'll
Grimes.
go with that guy because I feel like he survives a long time in that. So
if you don't like spoilers, turn off in 3, 2, 1. Rick lives the entire time, and he lives like one of the only guys that lives.
So I feel like with the experience he's had,
he knows what he's doing.
I feel like I'd be in the safe hands there.
Yeah, I've already got my 3 picked out, and it's gonna be the best 3 ever.
And then sorry, I'm taking forever. I don't know.
Okay, so Rick Grimes and Kelly, who? Sorry.
Severide.
Severide. Okay.
And then we'll go with. I guess from Chicago Fire, we'll go with Matt Casey too, because they're both big. So buff
2
firemen.
firefighters and a cop.
I feel like that would be a good option. You know, I'm always because the firefighters are also trained in EMTs.
That's true.
So I feel like I would be safe. They could kill all the zombies for me, and if I ever get hurt, they could patch me up.
Okay, I have 3 characters. That's going to be great. Number 1, Captain America from the Avengers. He is a leader. He is a strong man, since that's what you care about. And his coordination, and he was a soldier originally.
Also, he's got
that big shield as well. Like vibranium shield, so it's indestructible. So, we have an indestructible weapon on a very tough and very smart guy who was a former soldier, so he knows basic paramedics. By basic comparison, and he's also like he's jacked, right? Because he has that serum in him.
I'm jacked too. I'm just kidding. Sorry,
you are not.
Rude. He's
not.
So mean to me.
Hey, neither am I. Neither am I. Number 2, Chuck Norris.
Okay.
That's just self-explanatory. I mean, who wouldn't want to do an apocalypse with Chuck Norris? I would. And then number 3, Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead, Mr. Crossbow Man. It's not because I have a secret crush on him or anything. It's just because he's a great zombie apocalypse survivor.
I hope one other thing. What if you did with Thanos and then he just like snap and boom, the apocalypse is over?
When I first started initially thinking about it, I just thought of all the Marvel superheroes who have like the most like ungodly superpowers who could just wipe out the entire zombie apocalypse on their own. I tried to like scale it back a bit where we have a little bit of like superpowers with like Captain America, but it's still in a somewhat realistic fashion.
What about Iron Man? He could just pew, pew, pew.
See, that was like the one step above where I'm like, that's a little cheating a little bit. So yeah,
Okay, I agree.
so Captain America, Daryl Dixon, and Chuck Norris, and then
Matt Casey, Kelly Severide, and I can't remember.
Rick Grimes.
Rick Grimes. Yep, that'll be a fun one.
I love my team. We would win. I would be
now
kind of
imagine all like 8 of us together. That would be an
we would win.
indestructible team.
We would have like a super fortress of like steel and concrete like in the middle of nowhere, and we would just
and we'd have
survive.
enough people. Like if anybody gets hurt, we'd have.
No. It's just us 8. No. We're not welcoming anybody.
No,
in.
but I mean, if any of us gets hurt,
Oh,
we have people
okay.
trained to like help save us. And, like,
exactly. So we're
like,
just.
I feel like we'd be good.
And if we ever had to like fight any raiders, or if we had to go raid somewhere to like get supplies, we're gonna win. Like no one's gonna be taking us out.
We got this.
Exactly. I mean, Captain America could just throw his shield at a giant base, and the shield would win by proxy. So, what's another apocalypse question we can talk about with our limited time?
If the apocalypse were to happen, where would be the first place that you would go?
To my room so I could sleep, and I'll just sleep it away.
Lock the door.
Lock the door. Yeah.
Because I don't know how smart zombies are. They might be able to get in.
I'll just lock the door. I'll close the blinds, and I will just
turn all the lights off and kind of make it seem like nobody's home.
Yep. And I'll just go to sleep, and I'll just wake up when it's over. No.
You'll be dead before that happens.
Yeah, I would run to my uncle's farm because it's out of town, and it's probably the only safe haven that'd be away from the human population.
For me, I would probably go to where my parents live because that town is like smaller than small. It's like
smaller than small, so it doesn't even exist.
It's like maybe 100, 150 people at most.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You can.
So I feel
make a little kind of isolated community.
Yeah, and I feel like that would be okay. And
that's good.
They've got a basement. We'll just all huddle up in the basement, lock the door, all lights off. We'll be fine.
Play cards.
I have Cards Against Humanity.
No, but that's bad though because
in my suitcase.
Well, I was gonna say that's a bad idea because that's a game where there's a lot of laughing, and if there's a zombie apocalypse and you're doing a lot of laughing, that noise will, unless you soundproof the basement, you're gonna attract zombies by just laughing too much.
I feel like that wouldn't be too bad of an idea. We have a fridge down there too, so if we just move all the food down to the fridge down there.
But what happens if the electricity goes out?
Freezer food is good for 48 hours after the power goes out.
So what happens when 72 hours hits?
Canned food.
And then what happens when that runs out?
Well, I would hope that I just die. I would just be done. I would be over it.
That's not a proper attitude to have.
Well, I would be over it, or I would hope it would be fixed and we would be fine to go back to civilization. But in that case,
apocalypses don't end in just 2 weeks.
In that case, the body can survive, I think, like 24 hours without food or water.
3 days without water, 3 weeks without food.
Thank you. I did not know that. But see, I'd be fine. I would be fine. I'd at least last a month.
Well, again, that's the absolute limit, though, right? Like you might pass away of malnutrition even sooner. So. Nah. Anyway, I think it's time we wrap up.
Okay.
So this was a very fun episode. If you enjoyed this episode, or again, if you wanted to answer any of the questions that we brought forth, send us an email at WCGTV.
Tell us what your apocalypse plan is.
Tell us when it came to zombies, aliens, A Quiet Place, Bird Box, whatever you want. WCGTV at westmancom.com.
Yeah, we want to know your plans. We want to know if you're smarter than us.
Yeah, and the only thing that you need to know is that Kenzie and I are certified survivalist experts, and we will be the last ones when the whole world dies.
Yeah, we will be the main characters in a movie one day when they make a movie about the apocalypse.
Yeah. Apocalypse Brandon. And that apocalypse will happen when eventually all of our roads deteriorate from all the potholes.
Oh my
and then no one can drive ever again. And we're gonna be the only 2 heroes of this city that just magically repair all the potholes by just snapping our fingers.
Okay, before we go, the other place I would think about going is my current house because it's out on a farm. Sorry, I just kind of thought about that.
Fair enough.
I was like, oh, I live on a farm.
I would go to the Brandon airport and fly a plane.
You can't fly a plane. That's how you would die. Is you would.
I know how to fly a plane. I have played enough
video games.
I've played enough video games where I know how to fly a plane.
That is definitely not true.
That is true, actually.
You're gonna go up and then you're gonna go.
You pull the steering thing back and you go up. You push it forward and you go down. And then I just hit the autopilot and it does all of it for me.
I will be doing a special episode about Cullen's death from the airplane when he passes away because he was dumb enough to think he could fly a plane.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
No. But we do thank you for watching this episode. Again, hit us up at WCGTV at westmancom.com if you want to be in a podcast with us, or if you want to do one on your own. Feel free to fill your boots. We can tease this again. Coming up soon, we're going to have a special program coming up soon. We're going to be sort of expanding the podcast format of KC Chronicles.
Beyond just the studio.
Beyond just the studio.
That's all. I think that's all we should give away, because
That's
I
all.
don't want to give too much away.
We're gonna be hopefully taping it within the next week or so.
Yeah.
Give or take. So, so stay tuned, because sometime in July or maybe August, depending on how long it takes to edit, because it might take a long time. We have a very special program that might become a bit of a regular thing as time goes on.
If you guys like it.
If you guys like it. And I know that we're probably gonna have a lot of fun doing it. So stay tuned for that, because we promise you that you'll hopefully enjoy it. If you enjoy the podcast, then you'll like it. If you don't like the podcast, then you will not like it.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. If we don't, if you see this before Canada Day, have a good Canada Day.
If this is after the fact, we hope you had a good Canada Day.
And yeah, other than that, we will see you next time.
So long.